Okay, so this is just a quick heads up before the video starts because when I recorded this I initially spoke with it, but my microphone was turned off. So yeah, I'm voicing this over, so it's going to be fun. So I'm going to be walking you through what Cognir research is and how it works. So let's just get it open. I'm opening the terminal for the prototype file. So I'll start the backend here, npm start, yep. So the backend basically hosts the script and everything, like the API keys, and separates them from the front end. So as you can see, the backend just started, and I'm going to launch the front end now. This is the actual site itself, so pretty self-explanatory actually. We'll just be waiting for this to deploy. So until then, I just want to talk about what Cognir really is. It's basically just our meticulous research assistant that bridges the gap between curiosity and rigorous research. So we have the front end open here. This is the user interface, everything the user sees. I'll just open up console here before I do anything. So I have this prompt already ready because we're going to be comparing the question generated by Cognir Research with the question we have for our systematic review, which I'm conducting with my team on lung cancer diagnosis and the role AI tools can play for this. So we're going to be pasting a prompt into Cognir Research, just messy thoughts. These aren't really polished and they're not meant to be, because research starts with curiosity, and that's what Cognir research, and that's what we believe at Cognir. Everything starts with curiosity. So we just open up console here for visibility and just send the prompt. The pipeline just begun, which our backend will keep us updated about. The front end is not really required, so I'll move this off so we can see the user interface and the logs at the same time. So first, it just sends all your thoughts, ideas, all of it is sent to an LLM for inference. So the LLM, what it does is basically understands what you're actually trying to research. So yeah, so it just gets research domains, concepts out of your messy ideas. These can be as messy as you'd want them, as long as you'd want them, and yeah, there's basically nothing that you have to get right for this, basically. Yeah, so it just extracted 7 concepts and 4 domains. So domains would be research areas, fields of literature, basically, and concepts would be things it bases research questions upon. So this is just a tool to get you started on research. It's just an assistant for the beginning of research, because every other tool just assumes that you know what you're doing. And then, so intent analysis, so it just tries to basically effectively just extracts intent from your messy ideas. So you can type in curiosity, notes, dump documents. You can do anything in this field and it'll extract intent from that. It's like what it thinks you're trying to research. It's going to determine that and then send it's going to send that to an LLM to generate questions. So the problem with LLMs is that they tend to hallucinate things, especially in fields like research that need heavy grounding in real-world data. LLMs tend to hallucinate things. So if you just ask ChatGPT or Claude to generate your research questions based on your ideas, based on messy thoughts, or if you ask it to get you started on research, it'd probably give you beautiful research questions, but they wouldn't be researchable, if you know what I'm saying. Because these LLMs, they're not really grounded that much in real world data or current research landscapes. So this is what Cognir Research does differently. It grounds everything it does in real world data, like actual research that's been published and is in the space. So it generates 10 candidate questions, then runs searches all over the internet with reputable websites like you'd see PubMed or the National Library of Medicine or Elsevier, things like that. It runs all these searches through a SERPer API key, and it crawls the websites themselves as well to basically look for research that's already being done or has been completed in the exact same field that your ideas suggest you'll be researching. So yeah, it just grounds the questions generated by the LLM in real world research. So you can see it running searches for every single question the LLM generated. So the LLM generated 10 candidate questions, and these are going to be narrowed down based on real world research and data from reputable sources. So that's another thing where this tool differentiates, because it's not just going to crawl everything under the sun. It's going to crawl reputed locations and prioritize. So I just discussed the structure of the prototype itself. So the .env file just contains the API keys, and then the index is the front end, server is the back end. The README file is just a description package. It's a JSON file that just tells the tool what to do and things like that. And the node modules, that's a folder that just created to streamline the deployment process. So it just finished scoring the questions based on what evidence it collected from locations on the web, reputed locations like Science Direct, Nature. Yeah, so it scores every question based on how applicable it is or how much real world evidence supports it. So it's just going to pick only the top 5 candidates from these and then send them back to the LLM for a validation pass. So as I say multiple times, this is a meticulous research assistant. So quality was put above everything else when this was created. So yeah, so it just focused on quality above everything. The time it takes is more of an afterthought, because if a real researcher were researching this, like it took us months to get to our final research question, and we had a whole team. So if we're streamlining this process, I don't think 10 minutes is unreasonable to get you real solid research direction based on external validation and evidence. Sure, ChatGPT can do it, or Claude can do it in 2 minutes or even 30 seconds, but those questions are going to be mostly LLMs generalizing things and not really basing it that heavily on evidence. So it just validates every single research question that was selected after scoring the 10 research questions generated by the LLM based on the searches it ran using the SERPer API key. So it's just going to go ahead and validate the 5 questions that it had to narrow them down even further, improve them more. So what the research questions basically are all about is you start rigorously researching something only once you have a question, but then you don't start research with a question, you start with curiosity. So you give your curiosity to this tool, you feed it in, and then you get research direction. And that research direction, you can rest assured that it is rigorous, backed by evidence, and this is all transparent. It's not some black box system. It's explainable AI. So the AI has explanations for why it's giving you these research questions, or why it thinks what it thinks. And we'll see this in action once the generation is complete. So it validates every single question. Now it's going to improve them based on the search results and LLM reasoning. So it's going to make use of both web searches, the results it got from the web search stage, and the LLM's own judgment, inference basically. So I'm just going to explain the larger project about what Cognir is. So Cognir is basically an organization based around the philosophy. Think it's not really an organization, it's a philosophy first that's been shaped as an organization and has multiple projects that we call manifestations across dimensions. So it could be AI, aerodynamics, weather data, medical data sets, anything. So the reason Cognir doesn't have a definition is because anything that fascinates us, we want to get into. It's like anything coherent with the philosophy of thinking is something. If that's something that's not even been thought of yet, it's like if we define the project or what we do, then we're essentially limiting ourselves in what we can do. So that's the reason Cognir doesn't have a definition. So we have a few active projects, including collaborations with orphanages, other high school organizations, mapping medical data sets. Cognir research is definitely one. So we'll get back to Cognir research. So basically that's what Cognir Inc. is. Now the reason why we use Inc. right beside Cognir, there's a special reason for that, and you can learn all about that if you go to cognir.inc. Give it a visit. The URL is on the screen. So it's done improving 4 out of the 5 questions. It's working on the 5th one. So yeah, it improves every question and then scores them one final time to narrow them down even further. So this could be anywhere from passing all 5 questions or rejecting all 5 of them. It's all based on quality, and you can always choose to run the tool again. And then yeah, so it's not something hard coded. It's completely dynamic. So question improvement is just about to get done. We'll just wait for it to. Yeah, there you go. So the pipeline just completed. So we have 3 research questions, I believe, and they're backed by evidence, as you can see. So I'm going to be going through these research questions in detail, and we're going to be comparing it to our systematic review right there. So to understand whether radiologist reading time is actually the primary bottleneck in lung nodule diagnostic workflows, or if something else is causing the delays. So we started with messy thoughts, but then the tool has condensed what we're actually trying to research into this one compact sentence. So this is clarity. It gives you clarity on what you're trying to research, and then what kind of gaps exist where you can contribute as a researcher, and then where the knowledge gap in the literature lies so you can contribute well. So things like this, insights like this, would take months for a normal researcher to find out manually, and then with the same level of clarity. So this just streamlines the beginning of research, gets you grounded. So we can compare it with our actual systematic review there. It's something similar with our systematic review. We were essentially discussing the same things, like how much do deep learning algorithms or AI tools really, how much do they really affect the patient's outcomes? Do they really speed up diagnosis, or do they just speed up something and then the bottleneck lies somewhere else? Like, yeah, so how beneficial is it? So the knowledge gap it identified is right there. So yeah, like what is the stage that actually delays the patient outcomes? So is it just diagnosis and screening, or is the bottleneck somewhere else? So research objective is going to give you an objective for your research. So the first question here is actually, I would say, similar, or it's backed by evidence, I'd just say. So evidence is limited, but so as you can see, this is a completely transparent tool. It's not going to just give you the questions and just ask you to take its word for it. It's going to explain how it got to those conclusions. As you can see, it gives you links to the external evidence that it made use of in order to essentially shape these questions. mold them into what they're being presented as. So it just ranks the questions based on confidence, and that comes from activity, coverage, specificity, and novelty. Novelty is basically the what new research are you bringing in if you explore this question. So our final research question there is right there, and then we can compare the questions. It's like the questions generated by this tool are comparable to the systematic review question we're investigating. So the evidence here, it's actual papers, mostly peer-reviewed literature or reputed sources, and it's going to tell you evidence assessment. Is going to assess evidence, how it works, how it was refined, the original draft, the sources of its evidence, everything. So I'm just going to click on one of these, and it's from the National Library of Medicine. So yeah, so it prioritizes research-based locations because it's not just going to fetch from Reddit or Instagram. That's not ideal for research. So it it prioritizes sources like PubMed, and yeah. So that's basically the tool itself. Cognir Research. It bridges the gap between your messy research, just your curiosities, and rigorous research direction. So every single research that Cognir Research generates, like every single direction it gives you, is completely verified by external sources. It's verified. If there wasn't information out there that supported this question, the tool wouldn't display it to you. So it's completely meticulous. Yeah. So cognitive research basically bridges the gap between messy thoughts. Like you can see the prompt we entered initially. It's a mess. So that's how research starts. That's what we believe. Research starts with curiosity. It doesn't start with a question. You don't just wake up with a research question. You wake up with curiosity. It's like, oh, I keep seeing these papers about AI for lung nodule detection, and then that's how research begins.